Hey everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Ontario Cryptids. I am so glad you can join me this week, and before we dive in, I want to take a moment to wish all the amazing moms out there a very happy Mother's Day. Your strength, love, patience, and nurturing made us all who we are today. Much love. Today I've got some fresh encounter stories to share that I think you're really going to enjoy. If you like this kind of content, don't forget to hit the like button, the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss another encounter story. And if you have an encounter of your own, I'd love to hear about it. Send your stories to ontariocryptids@gmail.com. Now sit back, relax, and let's get into this week's encounters. Date, early 1980s. Time, around 7 or 8 p.m. Location, southeastern Michigan. I was in high school. We lived in a rural area in southeastern Michigan. The roads were dirt and the houses were quite far apart. I was home alone, as my parents had taken my siblings to an event about an hour from home. We had a tri-level home with bay windows in the kitchen facing the backyard and a large window facing the front yard, skirted by a small concrete porch that extended from the front door to the garage. The phone on the wall was in the kitchen against the wall that separated the living room. I was talking to a friend on the phone that lived a little over a mile away to the west on the far side of a lake. When I looked out the front window, I seen the thickest fog I have ever seen. However, when I looked out the southeastern facing windows in the kitchen facing the backyard and neighboring empty fields, I noticed what looked like a mini sun over the field. I do not know when it appeared or disappeared or how long it was there. I did ask my friend if it was foggy where she was, and she said she could see across the lake. It never seemed to move, but it was a bright orange ball that seemed to pulsate but remain motionless otherwise. It was probably about 50 feet above the ground and 20 feet wide. I have absolutely no memory of being taken or any interaction with beings, but sense a feeling of missing time. I have multiple diagnoses of genetic and autoimmune issues, but I'm not sure if this is relevant. My father passed away decades ago, but he used to sit at the kitchen table basically every night and claimed to have seen strange lights in the sky and yard quite often. Just wondering if anyone else has had any experiences similar to this. When I was 13 years old, I went camping with my school. When I arrived, I noticed the camping spot was just some tents in a dark and creepy forest. The tents were small and we had to share the tents with 12 others. I liked the activities we did. We built a boat, we played football, and we roasted marshmallows around a campfire. When it was time for sleeping, I chose the bed all the way at the back. I opened my suitcase and realized I did not bring my pajamas, so I slept in my normal clothes for the next 3 to 4 hours until I was awoken by a loud rumbling noise. I slowly turned around and saw 2 tall creatures hunched over my suitcase where they were searching for something. What? I thought. I reached my arms out to touch whoever this person was, and I felt something harsh. If I were to describe it, I would say it felt like something like old wood. After I touched it, I asked who it was, and I somehow fell back asleep. In the morning, I was awoken by my alarm on my phone. We were not allowed to bring a phone, so I was sure I turned my alarm off before sleeping. How could this have happened? I asked myself. I know it wasn't any of the other kids. I had not even told them that I had my phone with me, neither did I know them that well. They didn't even seem like jokesters to me. My alarm woke up most of the kids in the tent. They asked who it was, so I just acted like I was sleeping to avoid being suspected. We had to wake up around this time anyways, so I jumped out of my bed and I walked outside. It was really cold and I really had to pee. I walked around the tent and I peed in the bushes. I turned around and I saw a dead rabbit right outside where I slept. I called the teacher and he told me it must have been killed by something and that he would call the staff to clean it up. This day was not really that interesting. I mostly just laid in bed eating candy and thinking about what happened that night. It quickly turned dark and we roasted some marshmallows and we ate some pasta. The pasta was cold and stale, but I was hungry, so I didn't care that much. An hour later, it was almost bedtime, and my teacher had told me that if I had to go to the bathroom at night, I would have to go in duo because the forest is very dangerous at night. I didn't think much of it, but I chose my duo just to be sure. Then it was bedtime. I made my bed and I fell asleep. Again, I was woken up, but this time not by a weird creatures, but by my urge to pee. I tried waking up my duo, but he did not wake up. I decided to go alone. I walked all the way to the front of the tent, waking some up in the process, and I walked out. It was cold and really dark. I could barely see. I looked over to the benches, and there it was again, looking at me. It was so tall and seemed to have something in its hand. It looked like an animal. I stood still looking at it for maybe 20 seconds until I decided to continue walking to the toilets. I opened the toilet door and I took a piss. I washed my hands and I left. When I returned, I looked at the benches again and the creature was gone. Was it haunting me specifically? No one else had seen it, only me. If anyone knows what this could have been, please leave a comment. Okay, I'll throw my hat in the ring and tell my story. I was 25 at the time on an off-trail hiking trip with some of my friends, all of us within a year or two of each other. There were 6 of us up in the mountains in the north-central Pennsylvania. It was spring, but still cool at night and warm during the day. We started on a trail for about 2 miles, leaving the trail to move off away from the beaten path to the north about a mile, if not more. No GPS was used, just a map and compass. We set up camp in a clearing and set up a fire. Many of us, including myself, are avid campers and hikers. As it grew dark, we sat around the fire eating our dinner and having a good time joking and generally talking shit as a group of mid-20s men do. After a while of carrying on, sometime around 8 to 9 p.m., I was hit by a rock in the back. Nothing large, no bigger than a pebble, and it wasn't thrown hard, more like trying to get my attention than to harm me. I stood up looking off into the darkness behind me with my flashlight. All of us knew something was wrong as we went as silent as the forest around us. I want to make this point very clear. None of my friends were away from the fire, and none of us seen any creature or person the entire time this was happening. After I stood up, I shouted into the darkness to come out and show yourselves. No reply until the friend sitting across from me was struck by a rock in the same way. We knew at this point that there had to be more than one of whatever it was out there with us, as none of us heard any movement. When the rest of my friends stood up, we then heard them moving around us, slowly circling around out of view of our lights. They maintained their circle around us for the night, throwing small stones every now and then. As you can guess, none of us slept that night. This was also the first night of what was supposed to be a weekend-long trip. As soon as the sun started to rise, the creatures had moved off in opposite directions. We quickly packed up camp. One of my friends and myself, finishing first, took a short walk around where we thought they were walking around us. We did find a beaten-down path that led around our campsite and a couple of prints, not including deer or bear or elk, that appeared to be human-like but not exactly. They were no bigger than my own, size 11, if I was walking around barefoot. We left that day, abandoning the trip. Also note, all of us were armed. I was carrying my .45 ACP myself. My friends were also packing as well. This is why I doubt it was a person or people just out there messing with us. For one, I don't know any man that has balls to walk up on 6 grown men in the woods that are armed in the night with the sole intent to mess with them. Second, they used no lights of any kind. And third, when I pulled out my firearm, if it was a person, why wouldn't you just make yourself known? I have an acquaintance who is from Utah. He took an early retirement at around 50 after his wife passed away due to cancer. He had a weird encounter with a dogman near his home in rural Utah, which according to him, shook up his belief system. He and a bunch of like-minded individuals formed this research group to explore dogman reports in all the 50 states. All their research ventures would be in the states itself, except one. In 2008, he and a few of his cohorts were getting emails from another known associate of theirs from Thailand. This person for years was claiming that there were reports of high-frequency dogman activity from this narrow region called India's Chicken Neck, which had 5 different forest conservation reserves in the area, bordering Tibet and Bhutan. This individual in Thailand was begging my acquaintance to make his way there, as the latter was not having much success in collecting physical proof in the States. Eventually, after reaching a small city called Siliguri in northeastern India, they had to undertake a car journey towards the Bhutan border at a place called Bagsha Tiger Reserve. After spending almost a month there collecting data from locals, they had a local name for these beings, Nekre Bagh, which translates to wolf the size of tiger. Their first physical sighting of one of these creatures happened about 20-odd days into their trip. What they describe is very different from the myriad accounts I hear coming out of the States. In this case, this being had gray fur, about 8 feet tall, bluish-green eyes, and short, stubby ears. This creature apparently looked directly at them while it crossed a small stream and seemed to smile at them. When they asked the locals, they said that that's the Nekre's way of greeting a human, was for it to curl its mouth up into a sly grin while flashing their canines. Thank you so much for sticking around until the end. I truly hope you enjoyed today's episode and the encounters we explored together. Once again, happy Mother's Day to all the wonderful moms out there. I hope you're being celebrated and pampered just the way you deserve. A heartfelt thank you to our amazing channel members, Elizabeth, Jim, and Teresa. Your support is truly appreciated. And if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that like button, the subscribe button, and hit that notification bell so you'll never miss another episode. And if you have an encounter of your own, I'd love to hear about it. Send your stories to OntarioCryptids@gmail.com and it would be featured in a future episode. Wishing you all a fantastic week ahead, and be sure to tune in next time for another thrilling edition of Ontario Cryptids.